and I hope you have a great class.
Thanks, Felicia. Hi, I am Dondi with FloraCraft. And as you can see, we're going to do this fun ombre centerpiece. It's actually 3 pieces. A few tulips, some succulents, some candles, a little bit of eucalyptus, and we'll get this thing put together for you. We have Miss Tony on chat. She's going to be fielding all the questions. So if there's something you need me to slow down or you need to see again, just let her know and we'll do our best to do that for you. I'm going to borrow this tray. All right. So if we go to overhead, I'll show you what I found at Michael's to create this project. So I started out, the base that we're putting all our florals into is our green FloraFōM sheet. It's 12 inches wide, it's 18 inches long, and it's 2 inches thick. So you will need our foam sheet today. And then the center with the candles goes in this wooden tray. Yes, it doesn't say how big it is, but looks like it is about 9 by 9, and it's about 2 inches, 2¼ inches deep. So you'll just need one of those. And then for the 2 side centerpieces, I use this rectangular tray, and it is probably about 14 inches, 13, 14 inches long, about 4 inches wide, and about 2 inches deep. So it's a little bit shorter than that one. So you'll need 2 of those. Then the candles I found are LED candles, and they use AA batteries. And when you're working with our XPS, our FloraFōM or our craft foam, it's best to use LED candles, because if there was ever a chance that the candle tipped over or got too warm, you can burn our foam. So just be careful, make sure you use LED candles with our foam. And then for florals, you're going to need 2 of the white tulip bushes, one for the center tray, and then one that we split in half and we put in the 2 rectangular trays. And then you'll need 1 light pink and 1 dark pink. And we use these half and half for each side. And then around the center tray, we're going to use some of this eucalyptus as filler. And also in the center, I found these fun succulents. So there's a big fanned, not sure what it's called, and then a little like a kind of a hens and chicks looking one. Just one of each of those, and one of these. And then one of these I use this in the center also by the candles or by the succulents. So you'll just need one of these. And then a bag of Spanish moss. I use Spanish moss. You could use floral moss if you wanted to, would be fine. Right, and then some tools you'll need. You need a ruler, so we're gonna have to measure to put our foam in the trays. And then you'll need a ruler and a marker to mark for our trays, and then some wire cutters to cut our stems, and some kind of a serrated knife, steak knife, or a little handsaw to cut our squares for our trays. And then we'll use greening pins. These are over in the floral department. They're just little U-shaped pins, and they work really nice for securing the moss to our foam. And then You'll need a glue gun to glue the foam together if you want to glue them into the trays, or if you want to glue the tulips in place, you'll need a low temp glue gun. And we use low temp with our foam because the high temp guns a lot of times get so hot that it will melt the foam. So just make sure you have a low temp gun. A lot of those guns have high or low temp settings, and as long as it's switched to low temp, you should be good. All right. So the first thing I did was cut for these two trays. So you want it to fit inside this this dimension here. So we're going to cut it. It's about 3 1/4. So we're going to cut it about 3 inches. It doesn't have to fit tight or fit all the way. So I'm just going to measure off 3 inches on each side of here. And I'm cutting this off the 12-inch side. So we're just going to make a mark so we know where to cut that. And then we'll measure from there another 3 inches up, and that will give us our second rectangular tray. Right, and then you just take your knife and cut those two pieces off. All that foam dust. Right, and then for this guy, just measure this inside dimension, which is about 8 1/4. So we'll do it 8 by 8. Should be fine. So we're going to cut 8 inches. 8 inches. And 8 inches along this side. To about there. We're going to cut that off. And I think this is cut this piece off. So cut out this 8 by 8, and then you can cut this piece off, all the way off the side here. There's your 8 by 8. Fits in there, just a little bit of room to move, but that's fine. And we have our two. I'm gonna borrow this other one.
Gandhi, do you have any tips for how people can keep this arrangement dust free?
Oh, not really. But if they do get dusty, it's easy enough to just get some of the silk plant cleaner. And you know, if these are glued in and you secure all the Spanish moss with the floral pins, you can almost just like pick them up and just give them a shake. You know, give them a dust and then use some of that silk plant cleaner. And that stuff really does work pretty good. There's really nothing that's going to repel the dust and keep the dust off of them. I mean, it's going to happen, but they are pretty easy to clean. All right, so to prop up these candles a little bit, I did a second tier in here and I used this longer piece, but what I did is I cut it. Is it this piece or this piece? I think it was this piece. What I did is I cut it in half lengthwise. So just take, and if you wanna make a line to follow, if that's a little easier for you to get a straight line, then go ahead and do that. Just mark off 1 inch at each end and put a line down the center, and that'll give you a good line to follow so you get that as straight as you can. So we're just going to cut this in half so it's not quite so tall. And then if it's a little, see how it's a little bit jaggy, just take it over your wastebasket and rub the two sides together. And that'll smooth that out for you. And it looks like it's a little bit, I didn't get it quite straight. So if you take this other piece, because we're not going to use this, and use it like a sanding block, you can even get this bigger one. You use it like a sanding block and see how that made that bump's gone now. And then save those little pieces of foam for any other little flower arrangements that you do. You can use pieces of that foam to fill up your container. They also work good for like if you're painting something and you need something to pick your painted piece into while you're letting it dry. Bricks of foam are nice for that too. So what I did is I wanted these candles to go across this at an angle. So I just put my sheet up here and then cut it to fit just like that. So just take your knife and just cut it to fit the shape of the container. Right, and then we're gonna just spot glue that in there just to keep it in place. Just a little bit of glue. And that is where our candles will go. It looks like I'm still a little bit tall on this side. Just get that as straight as you can. So your candles are going to sit straight on there. That looks a little better. All right. So some people put their moss down before they put their flowers in. I am actually going to put the flowers in before I moss because sometimes it's hard to get the stems between or through that moss and into the foam. So to make it a little easier on us and to be able to see where we're placing these flowers so that we get them nice and even, we're gonna put flowers in first. We're gonna start with these two outside ones. And you'll see with this dark pink stem, there's 8 stems. 2 of them have, let me see. Well, maybe not, because they all have a dark one on it. So we're just going to cut them off 4 and 4. And we're going to leave about a 2-inch stem. And take that little grass, anything that's down on the stem, go ahead and push that up. So we see it from the top. Go ahead and push those all up to the top of the stem. And you're making like a little pick out of all of these. Push all that up. And then we're going to cut about a 2-inch stem. Just about that long. And you're going to do them all about the same length. All about 2 inches. All right, and then you're going to take this first 4 and you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 in a little group. That's your first one. Take your next 4. You're going to do the same thing, cut them all about the same length, about 2 inches. Right, and then here you do 2 in the end. And do right in front of those. So you're doing it kind of in a little square. Do those 4. That's the start. Now we're going to continue with the light pink. I can get this sticker off here. Well. Wow. So you guys can all get caught up while I get the sticker off here. Any questions so far? Oh, I didn't ask where we were calling from. Do we have anybody tell us where they're calling from?
Really quiet chat today. We have one person that answered that they are watching to learn today from Atlanta.
All right. I've been to Atlanta.
Cleveland, Ohio,
Hello, Cleveland.
New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
Looks
and
like I
Florida.
am missing 2, and I have some spares back here, so I'm going to run. That's one thing you need to do when you're shopping for your flowers is make sure that all your little tips are on. So you're paying for a full bush, so you want to make sure that.
You have someone from Yorkshire, England,
Oh, nice.
North Carolina, Oregon, Washington, California, and some West Coasters.
Nice. All over. Welcome, everybody. It's so fun to finally be doing a spring project, and it's spring. It's like, yay. I said before, it's a lot easier to do spring projects when it's cold than do winter projects when it's warm. All right, and then on this bush, 2 of them are, or 4 of them are a little bit lighter pink. See that? And then 2 of them are a little bit darker pink. So use 2 and 2 use the two darker pink first next to the real dark pink, and then use these two lighter pink in front of them so that it follows that ombre color.
Donna, you mentioned some tips when shopping for florals. What other tips do you have for selecting florals in the store?
Well, one of my easy ways to decide what flowers I want to go with what is I go to the like either the fabric section or the scrapbooking papers and find a fabric that you like with colors. It doesn't have to be florals necessarily, but just find a fabric that you like with the color that you want and just pull from that fabric, pull some other colors from that fabric. Or same with scrapbooking papers. If you have a color that you have in mind, but you don't know what to put with it, go over to the scrapbooking section, find some scrapbooking papers with the color that you want, and just pull from the paper, from the colors on the scrapbook paper. That's a really easy way to do it. And you can take that scrapbook paper or that piece of fabric right with you around the store and pick out your florals. So we're just cutting these off at 2 inches. After we pulled up all the little grasses and leaves up to the top, I'm going to put our darker pink towards the end and our lighter pink in front of that. Just in a little group of 4. And then last, we're going to do our white. These stickers off here. And same thing, we're going to push all the leaves up to the top. And cut off at 2 inches. Do we have anybody crafting along today?
Anyone that has posted they're crafting along.
Yeah, that's okay. It's being recorded, so you can go back and watch us again.
Yes, they can also just go to Michael's YouTube page and type in with FloraCraft and pull up all of our past videos and see other ones that you've done as well.
Absolutely. And keep watch for a premium class we're going to be doing in June. So keep watch for that. It's going to be a 4th of July red, white, and blue themed project. All right, so we have all of our little tulips in. And this is when I go back and after I have all my flowers in, I know where they're going to be. This is when I go back and put the Spanish moss in. I guess we can do that now. So I just pull out pieces. Some people cut it with scissors. I like to pull it because then you don't have a cut edge. Just looks a little more natural. So if you just get a piece and kind of get a length of it, and then stick it here on the end, get it in there so that this is just covering up your foam. You don't want the foam showing. So we're just going to take a couple of floral pins and floral pin that in place. You don't need a lot. It'll hold together. You can glue this on if you'd rather. I think pinning's a little less messy. You don't have glue to contend with and getting glue strings all over. So we'll put a little bit between there. Add a pin. Just working with little pieces of it. Pinning it in place. So you get it all covered. Oh, I can see. Little groups of moss. Pin it in every now and then, keep it in place. Good. We'll do this one. And like I said, this doesn't have to be Spanish moss. It could be floral moss. Could be, I don't know what else you could use. Maybe like Easter grass. Easter grass would be cute. Filling in, covering the foam. And this could be, I mean, if you didn't want to do tulips, you could do succulents. You could do all succulents in here. That'd be kind of fun too. Almost have this filled up now. There's those two. All moss and tuliped. So for the center, you get these out of the way. There. So you have your center, you have your candle spot ready to go. So what I did here is I started with my two succulents. I don't know if I can get this off of here. Oh, yeah. So cut about 1 inch off that stem. You're not going to need it that long. Open this up a little bit. So on one side, we're going to put this big succulent. And on this side, that has a shorter stem, so you don't have to cut it. We're going to put this succulent. about like that. Your candles are going to sit in here. So far we have our 2 succulents. And then we're going to cut apart this other white tulip bush. We're going to use it in the center tray. Same thing, we're going to push all of our little leaves up to the top. And it looks like I'm missing 2 off this one. I'm going to go grab another white. I thought I looked at these pretty good and they looked pretty full, but apparently I missed some. Again. All of our leaves up to the top. Oh, missing one right there. Boy, really pay close attention when you're buying these, guys, or buy an extra stem. I think they're only $1.99, these little stems. Maybe just buy an extra stem and use it to fill in. All right, so we have 8 of these white ones we're going to use. We're going to use 3 of them right here by this succulent. I'm going to put 1 up on the candle foam and 1 down a little, 2 down a little lower. And then the 4th one on this side is going to come over on this corner and peek out. Just like that. And then the other side is going to be exactly the same. So we'll put 3 by the succulent. And the centerpiece, you just want to make sure that you do the same thing on each side so that it's similar on each side. And you just want to make sure that you have a little something going on each side so everybody at the table can see the pretty arrangement. Right, and then again on this side, we're going to stick it over coming off the corner. Now I also added, I'm going to move this succulent out a little bit. Give a little bit more room because we do have this little lavender. And what I did with the lavender is there's 5 stems on the lavender. So I took 3 of them, cut them off the branch, or cut them off the stem right at the top here. And I took these 3 and put them by this smaller succulent on this side. So we're just going to poke them into the foam right over here, kind of in front of the tulips and behind that succulent. A little bit more color right there. Like that. And then these other 2, I'm going to put over here. Again, I'm going to move this succulent forward a little bit. So I have room to put these behind it. And these are going to stand up. We'll put one up by the candles. And we'll put them both up there. This one's a little taller. Put them both up in the candle block and then you'll be able to see it a little bit peeking out. All right. And once you have that all done, we can go ahead and moss this in. This will probably use up the rest of this bag of moss. We're going to get up here where your candles are. Just make sure they are centered in your block. And you're going to pin some moss in to cover that foam around your candles.
Donnie, your candles aren't secured to that base, correct? Because those are LEDs that you're able to change the batteries.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't really want to glue them down because you'll need to turn them on. They turn on from the bottom, and then you have to be able to put in your little batteries. So they have little feet that when you set it down, it kind of pokes into the foam a little bit. So they kind of stay when you push them into the foam, them little feet stay. You could put like maybe a little double-sided tape under there to help so they don't tip over as easy. But yeah, I didn't secure them. So we're just covering up this green foam. And then we'll go back in and fill in around these tulips and succulents with a little bit of eucalyptus.
We also have questions about where to find these videos, and Felicia did share the link direct to the Michael's YouTube page, but you could always just go youtube.com and search Michael's class with FloraCraft, and you'll see some, or find Michael's actual page, and you can easily type in that search any class you're looking for.
All right. So I got a little crazy with my moss apparently because I'm running out. Well, I guess I used a little too much here and there. Pinning in this moss. More little spot over here. Make sure you look, the centerpiece is going to be on the table and people are going to be sitting at the table. So make sure that when you're down, looking down at table level, that there's no foam peeking from underneath. Much as I want our foam to show, it's not very pretty. I got it pretty good. Looks like maybe one more little spot here behind these succulents. Could use a little. And another thing this does when you tuck it in around these candles, it does kind of help them. Does kind of help them stay in there when you're tucking that moss around there like that. Gives them a little nest to sit in. Oh, we're making a mess anyway. Got that down. Does anybody else have a big mess on their table? I guess if they're If they're crafting along, they do. All right, and then to fill in, I just cut this guy apart. Some of these have this little seed pod. I kind of liked that. In this centerpiece, in the center tray. So if you cut, I'm gonna cut like a top off with about an inch stem, so maybe like about that big. Maybe have him coming from underneath that succulent, kind of trailing across the front. And then this little white piece, we're going to use right here next to the succulent. And that one's kind of big. Shorten that one up a little bit. And if it doesn't have a good stem, you can go ahead and glue it in. Will work just as easy. Now, if you were making this centerpiece and you had some beautiful dried florals that you wanted to use in here, you would want to use our dry foam, and it will help your dried flowers go in a little easier. It's not nearly as stiff or as hard as our XPS, and it lets you use those real fragile drieds. We're just putting some greens in here. And then, of course, if you wanted to do a really pretty centerpiece with live tulips, you would want to use our wet foam. And our wet foam, you float soak it in a tub of water, and then you insert your fresh florals right into our foam, and you can arrange right into it, and it'll keep them alive for you. So have some options for.
Dondi, do you have any ideas of how to add fragrance that wouldn't damage the centerpiece or our foam?
Oh, yeah, the little drops of the oils, the scented oils, you could actually put the scented oils right on our foam, and it would sit in there and smell nice. The Spanish moss, you could drip some of the scented oils right on the Spanish moss. That would kind of hold that scent for you. Where else do we need some green? Maybe over here. And it's up to you, wherever you want a little sprig of green sticking out, just add it in. Oops, that one fell right off. So yeah, we have foam for anything that you would like to do. All right, how's that looking? It's getting there, right? Have all our succulents in. All of our Ombre tulips. So you could, I mean, realistically, you could just use this as a centerpiece. If you just turned it sideways, you could have just this on your table as a centerpiece by itself if you wanted to shave off a few dollars from this project. Or you could take out the center piece and just use the candles between these two. And that would just put these little candles on a little candle plate in between these two, and that would kind of save you a little money that way. Or you could actually decorate the foam itself. So instead of putting this piece of foam in the trays, you could just finish this off with the Spanish moss and just have it just all Spanish moss on there with no container and lay these out along your counter, just floral moss or just Spanish moss with no container. That would save you the cost of the containers. And then the other side of things, you could double these up. Now I used half the pink on one tray, and on the other tray you could make this full. I think in the picture online for this class, I think I did use more of the tulips. So you could use by two dark pink, 2 light pink, and then you would need 4 white ones. If you wanted this really full, you could do that too. So there's some fun options for you. You could decorate the side of this with rope. You could put sticks around the side of it, you know, going this way, up and down, just glue a bunch of sticks to it would be cute, or little dowels. There's lots of different things that you can decorate, and then you can use the foam as your container. All right, are there any more questions? No more questions?
We should get a sneak peek of our next class project.
All right, let's do that. So this will be, this is our Mother's Day gift idea or gift for yourself idea. This is May 4th. May 4th, Wednesday at 2 Central. So it's a little garden gnome. And look at his little feet. Can you see his little feet are like little stones? So I'm going to teach you. I used a couple of our cones to create the body. And then I'm going to teach you how to create the little feet out of rocks. And also out of foam. If you can't find rocks or don't have the right size or the right shape rocks, I'm going to show you an option using foam for the feet. So fun little garden gnome, May 4th. All right, I guess there aren't any more questions. I'm going to let you guys go. Thanks so much for making it fun with FloraCraft. See you May 4th.